Welcome everyone. Last week I explained how solid-state drives, or SSDs, work and why certain software behaviors can significantly shorten their lifespan. Today we'll look at a topic that surprises most computer users: whether storing a solid-state drive, an SSD, without using it can actually be harmful to the data stored on it. Many people assume SSDs are perfect for long-term storage because they have no moving parts, but the truth is more nuanced. This presentation explains why unpowered SSDs slowly lose data, what conditions make it worse, and what you should do instead if you need long-term storage. Think of this session as a guide to understanding how SSDs behave when sitting on a shelf versus being used in a computer. I'm Huey Poplock. Here we compare two conditions. Active state: when an SSD has power, its internal controller continually performs maintenance operations, including refreshing weak data cells. This keeps stored data accurate. Storage state: when powered off, none of that correction or refreshing happens. Over time, the data simply sits there aging. Older SSDs, cheaper models, and heavily used drives deteriorate faster because their memory cells already endured more wear. Storing these without power for long periods increases the chance of corrupted files. There's no single exact number because temperature, drive quality, and previous usage all matter. In cool room temperatures, a lightly used SSD can safely hold data for 1 or 2 years with no power. In warm environments, or when the drive was heavily written to before storage, safe retention can drop to 6 to 12 months. At high temperatures, like in an attic or garage, data can degrade within months or even weeks. It's important to understand these numbers refer to data retention, not the physical life of the SSD hardware. If the SSD contains important data, then yes, installing the drive or powering it up periodically is the best approach. Even plugging it into a USB enclosure and powering it once a year is enough to refresh the cells. However, if you're storing empty SSDs as spare drives, there's no risk because there's no data to degrade. The potential problem is not the drive dying, it's the data slowly fading if left unpowered for long stretches. This point is key. SSDs are not designed for multi-year, no-power archiving. If you want to keep photos, documents, or backups safe for years on a shelf, use something else. Surprisingly, traditional HDDs, or hard disk drives, hold data longer without power. For long-term archives, M-Disc Blu-ray is designed to last decades. And, of course, cloud backup adds redundancy. Think of SSDs as excellent for active use, but a poor choice for cold storage or irreplaceable data. This point is clear. SSDs are not designed for multi-year, no-power archiving. If you want to keep photos, documents, or backups safe for years on a shelf, use something else. If you must store an SSD with data on it, here are the essential steps. Store in a cool room. Heat accelerates charge decay more than anything else. Power it annually. Boot it up or plug it in and read some files. This allows the controller to refresh weakened cells. Also, maintain backups. Never rely on a single SSD sitting in a drawer as your only copy of important information. Following these steps dramatically reduces your risk of data loss. Temperature has an enormous effect on how long SSDs can retain data without power. Cool environments slow down charge leakage, giving you more time before corruption sets in. Warm rooms shorten that safe period, and hot storage can cause data to deteriorate extremely quickly. This is why storing drives in a garage, attics, or storage units is risky. Even unopened SSDs in retail packaging can lose data if already written and stored in heat. This slide visually breaks down the risk levels. Empty SSDs, completely safe to store long term. Lightly used, moderate risk after 1 to 2 years without power. Heavily used, high risk within 6 to 12 months, especially in warm conditions. Heavy usage wears memory cells, lowering their ability to retain charge over time. The more wear a cell has, the quicker it loses stored charge. So the risk isn't binary. It depends heavily on the drive's past life and where it's stored. SSDs don't store data magnetically like hard drives do. Instead, each bit is stored as an electrical charge trapped inside a tiny flash memory cell. These charges naturally weaken over time when the drive is not powered. As long as the SSD is installed in a computer and gets powered on periodically, the controller refreshes and stabilizes these charges. But if the SSD sits unused for long periods, especially in warm conditions, that trapped charge slowly leaks. When it leaks too much, the data becomes unreadable, even though the drive itself works properly. Here are the 3 takeaways to remember. Storing an SSD without power can lead to data loss, but the drive itself won't be harmed. Occasional power keeps the data fresh because the controller corrects weakened memory cells. SSDs are not ideal for long-term archival storage. Use hard drives, optical media, or cloud services for anything that must survive many years. For everyday use, none of this is a problem. The SSDs are reliable, fast, and safe, so don't depend upon one as a long-term put-it-on-the-shelf backup. I'm Huey Poplock.